Hello everyone and welcome to my first video in a little while. This might feel like a bit of a change of track for me in terms of the other content you can see on my channel, but I'm quite aware that as a business owner myself now 10 years in, I'd like to help a lot of other people out in the same industry that I'm in. I know from my first start in web design it felt like a massive challenge, that it was not going to work, that there were too many other people doing it. And I'm basically here to show you that that isn't the case and that you can certainly make a website business in 2024 and onwards. I think the advice I'm going to start with here is quite wide. I've got quite a lot of topics to cover. We're going to look at platforms, pricing, how to find your first clients, that type of stuff. For me, I think starting from my own experience, I build websites on a platform called Joomla. I've used Joomla for well over 20 years now, and personally I just love it. Doesn't mean it's the best out there, it's the best for what we do, it's the best for the clients that we get, but I'm not out here to say that this is the only platform. My advice to you now is, if you are going to start up your own web design business in 2024, is to pick a platform you're comfortable with, one that you can use, one that can deliver for your clients, but also needs to be able to deliver for you in the support of those clients. WordPress, one of them. You've got Webflow, you've got many other ones like that now that exist out there. All have got their benefits, all have got their downfalls, and if you haven't got a favourite already, my suggestion is to just have a go with a few. Pick a couple, learn how they work, and if one seems to fit your mindset and logic better than the other ones, then that's the one to go for. Fundamentally, for me, it comes down to the client. So I've been using the same tool set within Joomla now for almost 8 to 9 years, and that makes the support to my clients who do update their own content a lot, do add things to their own website a lot. It makes the support from me to them really, really simple. I don't have to learn significantly different platforms. I don't have to learn lots and lots of different tool sets. So I can create one support video on a guide on how to do something, and I can use that for dozens and dozens and dozens of clients, which is brilliant. The second element of this is it makes sure you become an expert in using those tools. You're literally going to be using them day in, day out, and over time you will learn, all the little finicky bits and how it works behind the scenes, to the point where, if a client asks you a question, you can answer it. You're not stuck with a new platform you've never used before. And generally speaking as well, the platforms have all got their own support channels, and you will end up using those if you need to in one place. You don't end up having to go to 15 different websites for different support through different places, which is, again, easier and easier for you. In terms of first clients, I think this was the struggle for me. It was like, oh my goodness, where am I going to find people that want these websites from me to do? I was lucky that the first website that I ever created was actually before I even started my business. We had our garden landscaped, and the guy that did the work for us had a very old, out-of-date website. And whilst the photography on there was brilliant, it really was not positioning him effectively in terms of how the website looked or how the content was. And through the website we did for him at the time, which was now gone back to late 2013, early 2014, he's the one that pushed me into this. He got so much more work online from his new website that he just kept hassling me and saying that I needed to consider doing this as a business. And in the end, my wife and I had a bit of a chat, and we decided to give it a go. And the first clients I had came from, back in those days, forums. So I was active on a couple of website forums, and I just put myself out there at the time and said, look, started a business up. Not looking to get a lot of money out of this at the moment. If anybody wants a website for the business, drop me an email and we'll have a chat. And it went from there. I got a few projects from that one. I wasn't massively active on social media back at that point, but I was active enough that I had a few friends online there and a few random conversations with them. Ended up with a few local clients at the same time. And as a second job, this was, I wasn't doing website design as a full-time business at that point. I got 25, 30 clients in that first year, which was amazing to me at that point, that I'd gone from not believing it was possible because too many people were doing it, to a position where I actually had, a credible income from this second business. So I think put yourself out there, ask around, Don't be shy to ask. Shy Ben's getting out is a phrase that my relatives used when I was a small child. And ask, get out there and ask for those things. Next bit from there, I guess, is also portfolio stuff. So some people might want to see the work you've already done. I guess I was lucky that I had that garden design project, but fairly quickly I did have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clients in the books, and because I got them the way that I did, they weren't asking for a portfolio at that point. They weren't asking for evidence of the work that I'd done before. They knew me well enough to give me some trust that my background in IT and everything else was sufficient. So whilst it can help, it's not essential to have. I didn't even have a website of my own for the first 2 or 3 months of the year that I launched, and I look back at the first website that I had and almost cringe at the concept of it, because it was just not, in hindsight, really not doing a lot for me. But the clients were happy with what I did for them, and I've still got several of them on the books now. In fact, a lot more than several. Most of my clients stay with me long term, and that's been a brilliant way for me to grow the business as well. Which leads me on to the next stage, which is pricing. I started off back in 2014 thinking that I could compete on price, that I could literally just undercut everybody else and I'd get all the work. And to a degree, that kind of works. There are a lot of people out there who are going to want to find the cheapest web designer for them. They don't necessarily appreciate what they're going to get by spending a bit more and the results that can be delivered that way, but that's fine. The pricing brackets out there for websites are there to cater for the different audiences that people want. So people will expect you to start low potentially, but you don't need to. I think for me, the biggest learning experience I got was when I went into a business development course, and they asked us about pricing. They asked us to work out what we actually got per hour over a year average. And it was quite eye-opening at that point to realise that if you were to look at the work you get over 12 months at the pricing you've got, and you take all of your expenses off, your tax off, all of that type of thing, you might not come out with a lot of money. And back in 2015, I think that course was, the recommendation then was in the UK that as a minimum, your hourly rate should be £86. Because by the time you take off all of your expenses and everything else that goes with running a business, you're not going to end up with anywhere near that. Now, that's not to say that should be your starting rate or whatever. You're open to do that however you want. Depends on the next step for me, which was then to decide, do I price per hour? Do I price per project? And from day one, I've always priced on a project basis. So I've spoken with a client, we've looked at what they need, what we need to deliver, and our prices are based upon the expertise and the time. And I say our time, but what we need to put into that project to get the outcome that they want. And that now, we deliver a price that is for that project. We don't say, right, well, we estimate 20 hours. If it takes more than that, somebody loses out. Do we charge the client more? Do they get more from us than what we get financially? So my recommendation is to steer away from the hourly pricing. It stops people pulling it to bits as well. If you do put a proposal in for a piece of work, and you price it on 25 hours, and the client comes back and says, well, we don't want that bit, we want to take that out, we don't want to pay as much, then you get into negotiation on price. And negotiation on time is almost impossible to do. So my recommendation is to price by project. If you want any advice on that, drop me some messages in the comments below. So many ways of looking at this one, and it doesn't always depend on your experience, but it will depend upon what you can deliver and evidence what you can deliver for those people. Leading on from pricing is to always take a deposit. In the early days, I was doing the first website design for the client as free. So I would literally not charge them until they were happy with that website. And over the first year or so, I did get a few that disappeared. So I'd literally built the whole website, spent a lot of time on it, and then they ghosted and never came back. Or I'd invoice them afterwards and it would take ages to get paid or whatever else that goes with it. So now I work usually on a 50-50 deposit basis. So I will take 50% up front, and the remaining 50% is due once the website's ready to go live. So that works really well. I've started phasing that as well now. So for larger projects, I will split it on deliverable points. So that might be content delivery, design approval, build, or whatever phases you've got in that project. We'll split the price across that time. That helps out with a lot of people who want to see what's going in and what's going on as the project develops, which works well. And certainly for the larger price projects, it can help with cash flow, because if you're charging significant money for projects and you pay 50%, you get 50% up front, you might be 3, 4, 5, 6 months before that final 50% comes in, and you're doing a lot of work in that time frame. So to split it perhaps over 6 months or by quarters or whatever, it just helps your income be a bit more steady and a bit more reliable. And certainly the larger the projects that we've taken on, that has been a really, really crucial fact for us to consider. In terms of what you do with that income, instantly stick 30% of it into a savings account. You will need that for your tax, VAT, expenses, or whatever else over the year. I tend to find 30% nearly always fitted. So when I got my tax bill and my accountancy bills, they were always covered by 30%. That might change for you. It depends entirely on your pricing model and how you work. But generally speaking, that has been a really, really positive thing for me to be doing. You don't want to end up at a point where you get your tax bill and you haven't got it. If you put it away to the side all the time, it's there, and anything that's left over potentially becomes a little bit of extra cash you can spend on yourself, on the business, or whatever. If you're really interested in finances, I'd recommend looking into what they call profit first accounting. That helps you split up different areas of money to account for your taxes, your expenses, your living costs, your salary, and also, spending on yourself. Your business is not there to just, coast along. It needs to deliver you an income and a salary that is worth your time to be doing it as well. From there, I would take your pricing every 6 months minimum and review it. Don't get stuck in the price comparison trap. You're not there to compete on price with other web designers. You're there to compete uniquely as you and what you can deliver and the way you deliver it. If you get stuck on pricing, you will always be, you'll get inquiries and you'll always be talking yourself down, and the client will be saying, "Oh, well, they can do it for this much, and you'll match that." And I will nearly always guarantee you will regret that approach. I ended up, after a few years trying to compete on price, literally overwhelmed. I had so much work coming in, which is brilliant, but I also almost couldn't cope with that, and it wasn't working for me or my clients. So price changes allow you to spend a bit more time with each client, develop what you're doing, improve what you're doing as well, and the results from there will nearly always be improved over what you were doing before. Combine all those elements together, really, in terms of your pricing, your model, your approach. How you brand and how you present yourself online as an individual or a business is absolutely crucial. One of the big changes for me was improving my online visibility. If you go and look at top 5, top 10 web designers in your city, I would suggest that the majority of them will be invisible on their websites. There will be very few that make their own photography and themselves part of it. And one of the biggest ways to stand out is to literally present as yourself accurately. So if you work alone, make sure that's obvious. If you work as a team and collaborate with other people, make sure that that's obvious as well. Don't hide behind, a logo or a business name. Don't hide behind, using subcontractors when you don't tell people that you do that. Honesty and transparency is really, really important. And there's still way too many web design agencies and designers out there that just don't showcase that, and then they don't necessarily showcase and highlight what they actually do differently and why they do it. Pick a platform. Facebook's great, but it can be a little bit focused on business owners that are looking for the best price. Not always the case, but it tends to be that way in my experience over the years. LinkedIn, extremely high potential there. But again, you've really, really, really got to put the time into whatever platform you pick. And you need to pick a platform that your clients exist on. If you're targeting dentists and no dentists are on Facebook, then it's literally worthless for you to spend your time on Facebook promoting your dentist web design services, because they're not going to be there to see it. Either platform will allow you to grow your own audience yourself. Use your personal profile. That is certainly allowable within Facebook's regulations, as long as you're not excessively doing business content on there. Business page is brilliant for SEO, but the visibility of that page is very, very difficult without paying for it. Your personal profile is powerful. You can connect, you can engage a lot more easily with that one. Add all your clients as friends. Make sure you go out there actively looking for people, adding them to your connections list who are in the business owner areas that you want to work with, because the chances of your content being seen is a lot better that way than if you just use it on your business page. There's quite literally hours of itself to look at social media marketing and how that works for you. Next bit, I kind of mentioned it a little bit in there, but collaboration is really, really important. It's been the biggest change to my business that I've ever had in terms of going 100% in on collaboration back in 2021. I realized in the early days of business that I was not the best at SEO. I was not the best at copywriting. I was not the best at branding, design, and quite rightly, my background was not in any of those areas. So I began to find and actively look out for people that were, at the time, local to me. I picked up some brilliant SEO associates over the years locally. I've now got a few nationally that I work with on projects. So now my entire business is based on collaboration. I've got designers that work with me. I've got SEO agencies. I've got some brilliant copywriters, brand design, graphic design, that type of stuff. Anything related to what I do, Google Ads. I'm more now managing those projects rather than being the one that does everything. And no arguments from me or the clients. The results that brings from allowing us to work as an expert team is tremendous. And for me, I much prefer that as a virtual approach. So I don't employ anybody. I've been able to be extremely selective with who I do work with, and social media has been amazing for me to actually find those people. And that means I don't have to work with locals. I'm also not fixed. So if I get a project inquiry with a requirement that, as an employer, I might not have somebody within the team and I'd be reluctant to go outside of that team, I can expand that team or shrink it as I need to for each project. And that really, really is a solid way of growing a business nowadays. Again, back to honesty and transparency, showcase your team. Make sure that everyone knows you don't work alone. But be aware that those associates will impact on your reputation. So you need to be quite sure whether you test them a little bit, do a few small projects or whatever in the beginning. You need to make sure that those associates that you do choose to work with are not going to affect your reputation in a negative way. They need to be out there and working in the same way, in the same ethics and ethos as you, so that when your clients meet with them, they don't feel a disconnect. And that certainly has been amazing to achieve with what I've got in terms of who I work with. So in a nutshell, 2024 web design business, create it, start it, get out there, get yourself visible, pick your platform, understand your platform, ask for new clients, don't be shy, and pick a price that you're happy with to begin from. You will probably realize every 6 months, like I've said, that you might well need to charge more. If you're delivering great results for your clients, you will understandably begin to feel that the balance of cost versus results needs to be a lot more in line and a lot more in tune and fair on both sides. And collaborate, grow, get your audience building going now, and don't be shy again. Connect, find people. Get your own website up and running, your own brand when you feel ready to. I didn't pick a name as a brand of my own. I didn't pick Chris Wilcox Web Design. I felt I don't know why that's never felt right with me. So I've got Lightbulb Web Design as my business name, which harks back to another video that I could talk about in the future. It's a brand that can grow. It doesn't need to be limited to me. And it has allowed me to do that over the 10 years plus now that I've been in business. So any questions and any thoughts, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you all. I do offer consultation now for web designers and agencies. If you are looking to start up, or maybe you've been running a web design agency or business for a little while, it's perhaps not quite working out the way you want it to. I'll drop the link in the comments to the video as well, and the description. Jump on a call. I'm there to help you out with where you've been, where you want to go, what you need to do, help you avoid the pitfalls that I've been through myself in the past 10 years, and show you how you can lift your business above and beyond where it is. I'd love to speak with you. Thanks for watching. Any requests for what you'd like me to talk about next time, please do say. I've got a lot to say about a lot of topics on web design, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Take care. Bye-bye.